What's up, gang? Welcome back to the podcast. Sorry that I took a long time to return. I know you guys haven't heard my voice in a minute, and I bet you guys thought that I wasn't going to release a podcast. Nah, I was. It's just that I had a bit of a busy week this week, man. I could not. Just basically, I didn't have the time or the service, to be honest, to record this podcast in time, but I'm still dropping it, and you still got videos dropping this week. But yeah, a lot of missed opportunities this week, man, and it makes me so mad. From now on, I'm not going to wait until fight week or even 2 weeks, if that matters, until the week of the fight, pretty much. Because I did that this week. I wanted to get so much content out for Usman versus Covington, but I couldn't because I waited too soon to the pay-per-view. It was way too close to the pay-per-view, and I couldn't get all that I wanted out, man. I had videos about dang near all the fights on here, but I couldn't get it out in time. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. It is what it is. Your boy is back, and we're back in a big way. Now let's jump straight into the podcast. So let's start with that main event. Honestly, I got a few things to say about that. First of all, I'm going to just settle the debate here. Kamaru Usman did beat Colby Covington. I know a lot of guys are debating this, and I really don't see why, but I think I know some of the core reasons. And it's a lot of biased Usman haters out here, man. Like, Usman has a lot of haters. There's not a ton of fans of Kamaru Usman, and that really, it makes me sad. You guys seen the press conference for the fight, and the pink suit guy showed up, and Colby absolutely melted him, and basically asks the crowd who all came to see Colby Covington, who all came to see Kamaru Usman. And honestly, it's kind of odd to see Colby Covington be in this kind of gray area where the fans love him and the fans hate him. I mean, he is the definition of polarizing, because I heard Colby chants as well as F you Colby chants and as well as Usman chants in the crowd. Although it sounded like it was a pro Colby crowd for the most part, it honestly sounded pretty divided. And it got loud for every single chant, and it honestly sounds like the fans couldn't make up their mind whether they wanted to see Colby win or they wanted to see Colby get knocked out. So, if I'm being real here, the fight was a lot closer than I thought, but I'm not surprised, okay? I'm not surprised that Colby had a bunch of moments in the fight and that it ended up being as close as it was. As for the fight, though, is it just me or was it just a very weird performance from both men? I mean, honestly, especially Colby. Colby fought nothing like how he typically fights. He didn't even fight similar to how he fought Tyron Woodley. I noticed that he was going to be more patient because he was a lot more patient in the Woodley fight, but he was still coming forward, still throwing a lot of kicks and still trying to, bring it to Tyron Woodley just a little bit at a slower pace. And then Kamaru Usman, man, it's like he came forward. He was just clumsy. The guy was just slipping all over the dang place. And watching the fight play out how it played out, Kamaru Usman's striking was overrated coming into this fight. Everybody was like, Usman made so much more improvements in his striking, man. Which he has. And I'm going to say this. Usman has made so much more improvements in his striking in terms of whenever you look back to the early days of his career. Whenever you look at the fights against Emil Mick and honestly even Tyron Woodley, you look all the way back then. He has improved since then, but he honestly hasn't improved that much since the Colby Covington fight. And I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me and they're going to be like, how dare you say, no, bro, it's true. It's like the reason why Usman looked so good on the feet against these guys was the threat of the takedown. Yes, he didn't have that against Burns, but he had a massive size advantage against Burns. Go look at that fight and go look at how much longer and how much bigger Usman was than Gilbert Burns. And it basically, Usman hid behind that jab and just kept poking him with that jab until eventually Burns' chin just couldn't take it anymore. Well, Colby Covington is the same height, but he does give up 4 inches in reach against Usman, but it's almost as if Usman wasn't using it smartly in this fight. Actually, you could damn near say he wasn't using it at all. The only time he used his reach is when Colby got dropped by him. Colby, which was actually a pretty funny exchange, Usman backs Colby up against the cage. Colby then hits Usman, I believe, with a check left hook, I believe. And then I guess he thought he had Usman wobble, but it was just Usman kept slipping all over the dang place. and then Usman kind of slips a little bit. Colby throws the right, and then Usman just comes right over top with that left, man. It was a perfect check hook, and Usman got there first. A perfect display of reach, and that is how you use your reach, and it ended up dropping Colby and almost made him pay. Now, if Usman would have just fought like that, then he probably would have gotten Colby out of there. But it's just like, he was coming forward, but he wasn't even throwing that much. And it was because Colby had his hands high. And so Usman didn't really go to the body as much as he honestly should have. And then Colby also didn't fight a flawless fight. I mean, he fought far from a flawless fight. Honestly, he should have went to that low calf kick a lot more, because Usman isn't going to take him down. Because Usman respects Colby's wrestling. They both respect each other's wrestling. As far as the wrestling exchanges, it went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought either or, if somebody even got each other down, like if there was a chance that one of them got each other down, they were just going to get back up. And I knew that. So, and that's exactly what happened. As far as the one takedown that Colby got, it's a little hard to argue because he didn't get a lot of control with it. But if you want to say, I like a takedown to be their butt hits the ground and they at least stay there for a few seconds. To me, that's a takedown. But in terms of wrestling, like if you want to really look at it as strict wrestling terms, that's a 2-point takedown. He got Colby down. Colby got Usman down, but Usman also got Colby down. So they went 1 for 1 on takedowns. But it was just, the fight played out in just a very odd way. Usman was the one pressuring Covington and bringing the fight to Covington, and Covington was hanging on the outside. What on earth was going on? And, as far as the striking performance of Usman, the guy is very inexperienced still. He is nowhere near an elite striker, guys. And we got to really look at that. Is that he's nowhere near an elite striker. Doesn't mean he's good, and doesn't mean that he's not, quote, a better striker than Covington. I honestly think they're dead even, to be honest, because Colby did show some improvements in his boxing, although he was winging haymakers the guy wings sloppy, ugly shots from a distance. He has no distance control. He throws good kicks, but he doesn't throw them often. And the reason why he doesn't go to the leg kick a lot is that he's not that good of a leg kicker. Look at his leg kicks. They're all slow and delayed looking. Colby just didn't fight a good fight, but honestly, Usman didn't have the prettiest performance. Nobody's talking about that. It wasn't a pretty performance for either of them, to be honest. But Usman did get the dub. I had rounds 1, 3, and 5 going to Usman. Oh, no, sorry. Whoa. I had rounds 1, 2, and 3 going to Usman, and the 5th round being very close. The 5th round, you could give it to Covington, but I will hear you out if you had an argument for 4-1 Usman. I'm just being honest. As for what's next for these gentlemen, to be honest, Usman should fight Leon Edwards. I don't want to see any other fight than that. It's going to get pretty boring for Usman, honestly. Is that he doesn't really have a ton of options. He's got Gilbert Burns if he wins again. He's got Vicente Luque if he wants to fight him. And that's it. Unless Michael Chiesa pulls something crazy against Khamzat Chimaev and beats Khamzat Chimaev, it's going to get pretty boring for Usman here. We might be seeing the end of his title run. Not saying that he's going to get beat. I'm just saying that we might see him retire sooner than later. So I want to see him appreciated. I am a fan of Usman. I don't have any ill feelings towards Usman, but a lot of these guys online does. It's like, you guys seriously watched that fight and thought Colby won that fight? Are you kidding me? Really, take off your biasness towards Usman and saying that he's a boring fighter and all this stuff. If you're saying he's a boring fighter, you're just an idiot now. Dude, take off the hatred that you have for the champion and really look at his body of work. Kamaru Usman is actually a likable fighter, and he's actually really good. And he beat Colby Covington twice now. He beat Colby Covington twice. Yeah, sure, the stoppage was bad. If Colby would have got up, Usman would have just either finished him still because he had a minute left in the fight, or he would have just racked up a ton of damage, making that a 10-8 5th round, ultimately winning him the fight. So it's like, Usman beat Colby twice, and y'all just gotta suck it up, man. Y'all just gotta suck it up. It is what it freaking is. But let's also talk about this co-main event because that also drew a lot of controversy as well. This one is more understandable than the Kamaru Usman-Colby Covington fight. But Weili Zhang loses to Rose Namajunas yet again, but this time via unanimous decision. And so I honestly thought that the 49-46 scorecard was just absolutely ridiculous. I thought that was so dumb. But I can see the argument for 3-0 Weili going into the 4th and 5th rounds. Now, apparently the judges have this secret judging criteria where they count the 4th and 5th more than they count the 3rd and down, but I don't know if I believe that. But although whenever you watch these fights, it's kind of believable. It makes you really think, because when I watched it live, I thought Rose won, but by the skin of her teeth. But this has drawn up so much controversy. So many people think, even these analysts out here, these other analysts on YouTube, think that Rose Namajunas lost and she should have lost her title. I'm going to be frank with you guys. I was rooting for Weili Zhang. I wanted Weili Zhang to win because it was something just about her. I feel like Rose not only disrespected her, Rose also displayed some honestly bad sportsmanship during the fight. She also did it a little bit last fight, but it's just bad sportsmanship. She was fighting. It's kind of I don't know. I just wanted Weili Zhang to win back her title. And it's not that Rose needs humbling. She's honestly very humble. It's just that, I don't know, for some odd reason, I really found myself rooting for Weili Zhang just because I just like Weili Zhang as a personality more. I feel like if Weili Zhang could speak fluid English, she'd be a lot more likable champion. She'd be way more marketable than Rose Namajunas. And to be honest, she is. Because Rose Namajunas is American, yeah. We got plenty of American contenders and champions. But it's to be fair, she doesn't have much of a personality, but the masses love her, so it's odd. I don't know, man. It's odd. But I will say this. I think Weili Zhang in the entire division, call me crazy, gives her the best fight. Because a lot of people say that Carla Esparza is that next chick for her, and Carla Esparza is really going to shock the world or something like that. I would agree with you, because I would say Carla Esparza is a better wrestler than Weili, but it's just that Carla Esparza is nowhere near the striking capabilities of Weili Zhang. She doesn't have the power. She doesn't have the footwork. She doesn't have the boxing. She doesn't have any of that. Not saying that she's just a horrendous striker. She's just not very good, and Rose is just levels above her. Levels above her. And so it's it's like comparing apples to oranges. You got the high-level wrestling versus the technical striker. Yeah, it could pose problems if Rose can't stop the takedowns. But if she gets Carla Esparza clumsy out there and get her just flailing her arms, she can definitely catch her down the pipe with something big. That's how I can see the fight going. I feel like Carla Esparza is going to fight a very one-dimensional fight when they fight because she cannot strike with Rose. To be honest, I didn't want Weili to have this rematch, if I'm being fair. I know Carla was waiting out for the title shot, but let's be honest, Carla doesn't have a lot of the bargaining chips, to be honest, because she's not very marketable. She's not like a big sell or anything like Joanna or something like that. She's hardly even a big name in the division. I mean, her time was honestly years ago. She's climbed back up the ranks, and respect to her for that. But it's just, man, she's not the person to be pulling a Justin Gaethje and saying, I'm going to sit out and wait for the next title shot. That's not how you do it. Personally, I didn't want Weili to get the rematch. I thought it was kind of dumb that they made the rematch and random, to be honest, because they didn't even announce it or promote it or anything. They just released the card on there, and then we all saw that the rematch was official. And I was like, when did this happen? So I wanted Weili to have a number one contender bout against Carla Esparza. I think, especially now after watching this fight, I think Weili Zhang could absolutely beat Carla Esparza. But the story of the fight, the tale of the tape, I should say, is just that Weili Zhang slowed down. It's she did really good for the first 3 rounds. And I believe it was the first round that was disputable. I think Weili won 2 and 3 pretty clearly. It was 2-1 Weili going into the 4th and 5th. And then Rose won the 4th. And then the fifth was up for grabs. That was for both women to win, and Rose clearly won that. I mean, she took her down and got some control time. So I had it 10-10 the first round. I had it 10-9 Weili and 10-9 Weili again. And then I had Rose 10-9 in the fourth. And then I had Rose 10-9 in the fifth. You tally it all up, Rose won, you know? And so, honestly, the 49-46 was a bit outrageous, but I believe it was 49-47, if I'm being honest. Yeah, Rose won by the skin of her teeth. And it was that fifth round that determined it all. Weili let Rose get the takedown, and I guess she was scared of getting her back taken or getting submitted, that she wasn't too aggressive with getting back to her feet, which was very, very, very frustrating to watch. And she ended up losing the fight. But I'm going to say this. If Weili Zhang fought Rose Namajunas the way that she fought today, like, if she fought this way last time in the first fight, I favor her chances. That is the Weili I thought was going to show up. I didn't expect Weili to wrestle, but I definitely expected her to slow her down with the leg kicks, keep that high guard, use her footwork, and then get Rose into these mini brawls, because Rose, when she takes an accumulation of big punches, she breaks and fights. It is what it is. She breaks and fights. Jessica Andrade, that fight was close, and it honestly shouldn't have been close both times for no reason. That second fight should have been the first fight. You know how the first two rounds was? Rose should have blew her away, and she didn't. Why? Because when she gets hit, she makes a lot of low IQ mistakes. And I'm not hating on Rose. I'm just giving an honest technical breakdown of her skill set. When she gets hit with big shots, she tends to make a lot of mistakes afterwards. And she was starting to do it again. When Weili caught her with a big punch, she was getting into these mini brawl exchanges, and then she would stop herself and then start weaving the punches, which is a smart thing to do, because had she got upset or got angry and started brawling out there with Weili, we'd be telling a whole different story. But she ultimately didn't. She used her brain, she used her fight IQ, and edged out the fight. Much respect to Rose. To me, she goes on 2 more wins against 2 fresh opponents. She's the greatest strawweight of all time. It is what it is. But, moving on. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. So, what is not to say about this fight, to be honest? I thought that it was absolutely insane. Fight of the night, clearly. Probably the best fight I've ever seen in the UFC. I think so. I think that fight, at first, for a long time, for me, it was pretty hard to top Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa. This blew it out the park. This blew it out of the water. This is the best 3-round fight I've ever seen before. And I've been watching this sport for a long time, and I'm confident when I say I haven't seen a 3-round fight that is better than that. I'm not saying that I haven't seen a 5-round fight better than that. I really have to think hard for that. As of right now, I think, in my opinion, the greatest fight I've ever seen. Oh, that's a tough one, but I think I would say Cormier versus Alexander Gustafsson. That was an absolute insane fight. And then number 2, I'd have to say Diaz and McGregor. But, yeah, man, very good fight, though. Very good fight. And it takes the cake for the best 3-round fight I've ever seen. Takes the cake. But, if I'm being honest, and I'm giving it an honest technical breakdown, it was the most low IQ, idiotic fight that I've ever seen before in my life. I mean, they looked like 2, Homer Simpsons in there, just taking damage and punishment and not moving their feet. But although it played out for an entertaining fight, it's not going to play out well for their chins, especially Michael Chandler. His chin was shot before this. Now, I know there was a lot said about his chin, and I am guilty of it. I had Justin Gaethje by 2nd round knockout, and it almost happened. Literally, if you go back and watch that Justin Gaethje will KO and expose Michael Chandler video I made way back, I honestly said the leg kicks were going to add up. It was eventually going to get Michael Chandler to stop moving and stop coming forward, and Justin Gaethje was going to knock him out. That's how I thought that it was going to. It literally almost happened. Justin Gaethje catches him with a big uppercut, floors Michael Chandler, and Michael Chandler somehow makes it back up to his feet. But man, it's so much happened in that fight, I can't name it all, bro. It was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When I watched it live, I thought Chandler won rounds 1 and 3. When I watched it live, I just rewatched it, and Justin Gaethje won, and he won pretty pretty soundly. Honestly, I'd have the first round a 10-10. That's a draw round. I would actually, no, I would say 9.5 if they could do that. It's a 9.5 Michael Chandler for that first round, man. But Gaethje won the second and the third. So I had Justin Gaethje winning pretty comfortably. It was still an ultra close fight, but it's just the way Michael Chandler fought. It wasn't the smartest fight. But I'm being honest here when I say Michael Chandler doesn't make the smartest, he doesn't have the smartest ideas in fights anyways. I mean, the guy fights like a wild man, and it's very entertaining, and he hits very hard, but it's like he comes forward, whales punches. They don't even have the best technique. He strikes like a wrestler who hits hard, and he comes forward, and I'm talking about he throws his hands. He goes for it, and he either knocks you out or he gets knocked out trying. And so it's like Justin Gaethje, though he doesn't get too much credit for his technicality, he also fights kind of sloppy, especially whenever he throws his hands. The reason why he honestly didn't knock out Chandler is just because he's not very accurate of a puncher. He was hitting Chandler at the top of the head and a lot on the cheek. Wasn't really connecting on the chin, except that uppercut connected like dead on the chin. But he kept hitting Chandler in the places where Chandler can take it. And he saw all the punches Chandler did. He saw all the punches. Because Justin Gaethje was right hand. And he kept trying to counter Michael Chandler. Which could have resulted in a dire way if he only executed it more accurate. I mean, the guy's not an accurate puncher. He just kind of throws. He has good hands in terms of power, but he's not a good boxer is what I'm saying. And Chandler, in that first round, was outboxing. I mean, he was tuning Justin Gaethje up in the boxing, man. Justin Gaethje is not that skilled of a boxer, and to be honest, you guys are going to hate me when I say this. I know back then I said Conor would probably get beat by both these guys, considering how Conor fights now. But dude, honestly, I think Conor would sleep Chandler, and I think Conor actually does a lot better than I thought against Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje proved to have a durable chin, but he got rocked. And honestly, in a situation that he didn't even need to get rocked in. If Justin Gaethje moved his feet like how he did in the Khabib fight, if he used his footwork, he could have soundly beat Michael Chandler. But he makes, I don't know, if Conor McGregor gets to the press conference, talks crap to Justin Gaethje, and gets in Justin Gaethje's head and makes Justin Gaethje swing with him, I think Conor can land one straight down the pipe. Because best believe, though, reason why these two gentlemen didn't get finished last night is because the punches, today's Monday. I keep thinking today's Sunday. But the only reason why these two guys didn't get slept on Saturday night is because the punches just wasn't as precise. Had it been good timed, and had it been straight down the pipe, and had it land on the sweet spot, these guys would have went down. Especially Michael Chandler. And yeah, I don't favor either of these guys' chances against Conor. I actually favor Conor, and both. It doesn't mean Conor's just going to win, but I think that Conor has a good chance of beating both of these guys. Seriously. If Conor comes on his A game, prime Conor would smoke these dudes. Prime Conor would smoke both of them, because you look at the matchup. Justin Gaethje has good leg kicks, but you got to consider the fact that Conor has that long bladed stance, and they're opposite stances. So that leg kick isn't going to be just there like how it was against Dustin Poirier. It's just not going to be. And even Conor had an answer for the leg kicks in the second Poirier fight. So then once you single that out, Justin isn't going to land as much leg kicks on Conor. And then on top of that, Justin Gaethje wings telegraphed punches. Conor's going to see them coming, and Conor's not going to stand there like Chandler did and let Justin hit him. And let Conor's not going to overextend, and Justin's not going to catch an overextended Conor McGregor with a punch. So it's going to be a really back and forth technical war. It's really, if Justin can outlast Conor, he could still probably knock him out. But like I said, man, I don't mind Conor's chances against either of these guys. As for Michael Chandler, dude, straight shots is this guy's worst nightmare. If Chandler explodes at Conor backsteps and it literally lines up that left hand one time he's putting Chandler to sleep. One punch, one exchange, Conor lands something straight down the pipe and sleeps Michael Chandler. Call me crazy. I just know the sport, and I just know striking versus what they were doing last night. It wasn't a very high IQ fight, and I hate to criticize these guys because it was amazing. But man, boy, that is, if you like defense, you hated that fight. But if you don't like defense and you like a blood and guts war, that was an amazing fight. But let's go ahead and let's just burn through these next few fights. Let's just hurry up and just go through them. Alex Pereira knocks out whatever the guy's name in the second round after losing the entirety of the first round. I mean, the guy just couldn't get the other guy off of him. Yeah, it was pretty boring, and the refs had to separate them, but they got right back against the cage and right back in that clinch, and the guy used all of his energy trying to hold him there because he was so fearful for his life to strike with Alex Pereira, and he gassed himself out. The second round came. Alex Pereira literally lands a perfectly timed flying knee and puts the guy out. As for Alex Pereira, I mean, the guy has clear holes in his game. Once again, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer when I critique these fighters. I'm just being honest, but yeah, he has holes in his game, man, especially in his grappling. Because had that been Derek Brunson, or had that even been Marvin Vettori, because you know they're going to try and catapult him to the top, even Kelvin Gastelum, to be honest, trying to wrestle him, they're going to take him down and beat him up. Because this guy was able just to hold him there. These other guys aren't going to gas out. They got 5-round experience. They're just going to take him down and just beat him up. They're not even going to try and hang with him on the feet. So he has to really fix that before he fights these upper echelon guys. But if he can fix that, I mean, he's a nightmare on the feet, and he's going to be a nightmare for Israel Adesanya. Although, guys like to overrate that knockout win over Adesanya. To be honest with you, he was losing majority of that fight. He was getting tuned up, and he got rocked and all these things before he landed that left hook, which is honestly lucky, if you ask me. I know he's landed it over and over and over again against countless opponents, but to be honest, against Izzy, that was lucky. And I don't know if I favor his chances again against Israel in mixed martial arts with smaller gloves, only because you don't know how he's aged, how slow he's gotten with his hands, and can he keep up with a high-level striker like Izzy still. But if he can, he's probably going to bring the danger to Izzy. Anyway, so let's talk about Frankie Edgar getting knocked out by Chito Vera. Honestly, that was just sad. Frankie was winning majority of the fight, was honestly on his way to just completely outclassing Chito, and Chito knocks him out with a front kick. Man, Chito Vera showed me in this fight that he is not amongst the top of the bantamweight division. The guy found the finish, yeah, with a good front kick, play perfectly timed. I dare to call it lucky. I'm not. It's not. It wasn't lucky. It was a good shot, but the guy needs to be more active with his offense. The guy is just too patient, and I don't know why. He's going to get outstruck and just outpointed by these guys. That's exactly what happened to him and Aldo. He got outworked because he doesn't push forward. Anyway, Ali Aquinta got knocked out by Bobby Green. It was more. Ali Aquinta been out for 2 years. Hasn't really been taking the fight game seriously anymore. He's been working on his real estate, making a bunch of bucks over there. He spent majority of his career whining to the UFC anyways, and, you know, he's always had outs with the UFC. He's always had problems with the UFC. And, yeah, he's an older guy. He looked the guy honestly looked like crap. And Bobby Green isn't the best fighter anyways. Looks like Bobby Green's starting to hit a bit of a stride now, but he is not amongst the best. And Ali Aquinta lost horribly to him. I mean, it looked easy for Bobby Green. So, yeah, Ali Aquinta should probably retire, to be honest. He doesn't take fighting seriously anymore. He should just get out of the way. So, alright, so he got one question, and it comes from my boy Ram Parker, and he basically asks, how do I see Usman versus Chimaev going after Chimaev's dominant performance? If I'm being honest, bro, to be honest with you, I think that Chimaev, his opponent that he fought, Li Jingliang, if the UFC could pick him a perfect top 11, top 15 opponent to put him up against to make him look good, it was Li Jingliang, who has a massive hole in getting pressured and getting wrestled. That was his holes leading into this fight, and that was almost bound to happen. But it doesn't take away from the fact that Chimaev did it so dominantly. He shouldn't be dominating a top 11 opponent like that if he wasn't good. So, how do I favor Usman's chances against him? I don't know, man. It is very, 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 very interesting, because if Usman can stop the American wrestling takedown, but can he stop Chimaev's takedown? And if Chimaev takes him down, we've never seen Usman on his back. And I'm going to say this, if you've never been put on your back in those bright lights, it's not going to go well for you. Usman gets put on his back, he's going to get pounded. That's just how it is. Or he's either going to get submitted. He's not going to do well off his back. He's not. So, basically, it's going to be who can take who down. On the feet, Usman was getting rocked by Covington. If Chimaev really have this one-shot power that he displayed against Gerald Meerschaert, it's going to be a long night for Usman. And can Chimaev stop Usman, to be honest? We don't even know. It's really based on who can impose whose will on who. And we don't even know Chimaev's gas tank. Although I don't think that Chimaev has the best gas tank, if I'm being real. I don't know if Chimaev can just comfortably go 5 rounds. So, as of now, I'm going to say a big fat question mark. But since we know more about Usman, I'm going to say Usman could possibly beat him. But you never know. I don't really know. I really got to see Chimaev in a 5-round fight who he doesn't finish in 2 rounds. Either way it goes, I find it hard to see Chimaev finishing Usman. But it could happen. Who knows? But if you guys enjoyed the podcast, let me know. It's been your boy Trippy. More videos coming soon. And I'm out, man.